is the first podcast for a newbie in the fandom with me, Rachel, and
Moya.
We are two very big fans of pop culture, be it TV or movies or, well, for me, comic books and video games. I've yet to get Moya onto it. But this is our very first podcast, and we are going to review one of the biggest shows on television around the world at the moment. Yes, we are talking about, well, I am talking about Game of Thrones. And anyone who watches any form of media content know Game of Thrones is in its last season, season 8. And me and Moya pretty much decided 4 days before the premiere episode to do a podcast. So here we are. So let's get it going. Moya, what did you think of the first episode of season 8 of Game of Thrones titled Winterfell?
Well, you know I love Game of Thrones. Always an exciting time of year. Gosh, so much happened. Like, just making notes and going back over it, so much has happened in one episode, which is how many minutes?
I think I read that the episode was 53 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's only going to be 6, so I'm expecting it to be just absolutely, action-packed. It's been a long lead up. A lot of storylines now converging. This season, everything's coming to a climax, so it should be exciting.
I'm very much looking forward to the conclusion of the season. As you said, there are only 6 episodes, and a lot happened in the first episode, Winterfell, which gave a lot of callbacks to the very first episode of Game of Thrones, all back in 2011, I think, which was Winter is Coming. So the episode starts, as we know, as Dany's procession coming into Winterfell from Winterstown with a young boy overlooking it, doing a throwback to Arya Stark, who of course saw Robert Baratheon's procession as it was coming through to Winterfell. What did you like about this scene?
Well, that's where I straight away picked up the callback. Definitely, reminiscent of that first season, that first episode. Reminded me of Bran and all his climbing to get up to no good, really. And just the impact of the whole army, on their way, and the reactions of everyone in the crowd. Not really a warm welcome.
Oh, no, definitely not. No, definitely the North did not like seeing the Unsullied and the Dothraki army. And Jon actually tells Daenerys when they're coming through, that Dany has to earn the respect of the North, a theme that is repeated through this episode. But I want to talk more about this opening scene. We, of course, saw Jon and Dany looking somewhat regal and majestic. Dany wearing her Thundercats white fur, who people are speculating is actually ghost fur.
Oh, come on!
Because rumour has it the CGI budget this season is through the roof, thanks to the dragons. So there was a sacrifice for the dragons, because apparently fans love the dragons. So, so there's no ghosts. So I am saying Dany's costume is ghost. That's all we're going to see, ghost. But anyway, enough of that tangent. So let's talk about the other people in the arrival to Winterfell. Of course, there's Dany and Jon. There was also Varys and Tyrion, who have a little bit of a old joke, dead horse joke in the cart. Which was, what was it again? I can't remember.
Something like freezing your balls off or something.
Yeah. And that's right. Varys is like, why do you take offense at dwarf jokes? And you make unique jokes all the time. Tyrion used to have really good dialogue, and now it's just come down to unique jokes the last couple of seasons. Missandei and Grey Worm had a moment, and we've all been there, being the only black people in a room full of white people. But one of the big moments in this opening scene, of course, was Arya catching a glimpse of her bestest brother, Jon Snow. How did you feel in that moment, Moya?
I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to happen. You know, they're going to see each other. And they didn't. She stayed quiet and let him walk by. But I think that really says something about where she's at as well, you know, and her journey, you know, from being no one to deciding, no, I'm Arya Stark and I'm going home. But so much has happened, so much has changed.
And of course, behind the Warden of the North and Queen Daenerys was the Hound and Gendry, who we see later on. But how did you feel about Arya catching a glimpse at the Hound?
Well, she sort of frowned at the Hound. And then as she saw Gendry, you know, the smile came in. And I was like, oh, they're going to be reunited. Yeah, that's my little ship.
And you're not the only one. Now, another big moment in that opening scene, well, I think it's a big moment. Jon's just told Dany, you know, that she needs to earn the respect of the North. And I honestly thought Dany looked really, really uncomfortable in that scene. And she regained her power when the dragons flew over. And then she had a smug look on her face. Did you think it was a smug look?
Yeah, definitely smug. I wasn't feeling it, to be honest. I think she just, you know, this is a different ball game. Yes, she's coming home, but this particular area is not her home. They don't know her. If anything, now she's put sort of fear in them, which does not really translate to loyalty. So I think some of the townsfolk were a bit startled by the dragons, to be honest.
Arya wasn't. She was fearless. She smiled. She's always admired the Dragon Queens.
Mm-hmm.
So she was very happy there. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the look Dany gave when the dragons fly over. Like, once upon a time, when they did fly over, the dragons were a symbol of her power, and they are here. But back when she was in Essos and Meereen and all that, you know, we cheered for Dany. But when the dragons flew over the small folk of the North, that was fear, and it wasn't the smile of a queen, but of a conqueror. So, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Dany in that moment. From the opening scene of Winterfell, we go into the courtyard of Winterfell, where Jon comes in to mimic Robert Baratheon from season 1, episode 1, and he spots Bran. What did you think of this? The reunions that happened in the Winterfell courtyard.
Oh, well, I think, you know, we've all been waiting for all the Starks to be back together, all together. I think, you know, Jon was so happy to see Bran and pretty much, you know, ran up to him, gave him a big hug. And Bran, obviously being the three-eyed raven now, very cold. What was his response? You're almost a man now. And he said, yeah, almost.
Almost, yes.
He's not quite human anymore. He's the three-eyed raven now.
Yeah.
He's not just your average Joe.
Yeah. So we had Bran and Jon having their brief reunion, and I thought Kit Harington did a very good Sheen Bean accent. Also, during the courtyard scene, we saw the Northern Lords. I believe Lady Mormont was there, Lord Royce from the Vale, and they were giving Dany cold looks, but not as cold as the Lady of Winterfell, Sansa Stark. So Sansa and Jon have a quick hug, but Sansa is not taking her eyes off Daenerys Targaryen, and I've got to say, if Dany is the Queen of Fire, Sansa Stark is the Queen of Ice, because that was an ice-cold look.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. If looks could kill, they'd half be dead now.
Yeah, Sansa does not need dragons because she killed Dany with her looks and with her cold welcome. As we know, Ned welcomed Robert with open arms, but the courtyard at Winterfell doesn't even bow to Dany. And from the get-go, Dany is not happy with her subjects and the North. I mean, she tries to flatter Sansa, and Sansa just says, Winterfell is yours, your grace, and Dany's look was just...
And she's so much taller too, so she's really just looking down her nose at Dany, and I'm like, oh, it starts here, all these power games, you know, just with a one sentence, they are cutting each other.
Bran can obviously see that there's too much tension between the noble ladies, and pretty much tells them, we don't have time. We gotta stop right now. The dead are coming. And I can't remember now. What's the scene after that?
So then they have a meeting in the hall.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
All the lords and ladies. And they call upon the Umber boy, Lord Umber.
Little Ned.
Because he's got to go back, get his troops, and get his butt back here.
And what is interesting about this scene, and we talked about this earlier, is that he didn't know who to address. So did you think in that scene there was a sense of, we don't know who's in charge?
Absolutely. I mean, the next person to get up is Lady Lyanna Mormont, and you know she tells it like it is, and she pretty much says, well, we voted for you to be King of the North. You know, so that's, what are you now? She says, are you no one?
We get a sense that the Northern Lords aren't happy with Jon.
When are they ever?
Yeah, this is true. They do it. When has the Northern Lords ever been happy? Like, ever since Ned lost his head, the North has been in utter chaos. So, what is this scene to you? What's happening in this scene? This is Dany and Jon and even Tyrion trying to rally the North together. What do you think's going on?
Well, interesting enough, I noticed that Dany starts the scene standing. She's the only one standing. She's left her chair and she's standing by the fire. And she's letting the others talk, and then at some point she comes and sits down. And I thought that was an interesting choice. Is she trying to remove herself from that? Is she trying to let them just say what they need to say, or is it a power move?
It could have been a power move, because she only acknowledges the room. If you look at that scene, she's not listening. It's not until young little Ned comes and greets her, your grace, does she actually come to the table to join. It was definitely a tense scene, and I noticed that it was framed really interesting as well, to show the power struggle between, I'm going to say, Sansa in the north and Dany and everyone else, with Jon Snow in the middle, even though there are 5 people sitting at the high table. So this scene is to show, I think, that there is definitely tension, and that the North, though they have to follow Dany, do listen to Sansa's. Yeah. And I think Lady Mormont standing up and saying what she said to Jon is also saying, you screwed up, and if anything else goes wrong, we might change loyalties.
Yeah, definitely. I just love her. She's she's so young, but you don't think about that when you look at her. She is just she exudes power, that one. I just love her. And then we've got Tyrion gets up and references the deal that was made last season for Cersei to support everybody and, be in this fight against the Lord of what's his name?
The Night King.
The Night King, bloody. And they that's the last person they want to hear from. Like, they're not having a bar of it. Like, are you serious?
I like it how, Tyrion is sensing the tension in the room. He stands up and he brings more tension really to the room and tells them that the Lannisters are coming. And I love Peter Dinklage, how he delivered that line, because he stands up and he's confident, and all of a sudden he drops his head and he's like... And
just as he says the Lannister army.
It's great. Like, he knows that, yeah. But what I don't get, and it's probably going to be revealed later on, twist, is why Tyrion believes that Cersei is going to send an army. We know he hates Cersei. We know Cersei hates him. Do you think at the end of last season a deal was struck between Tyrion and Cersei? Because that's the only way that Tyrion would believe her, right?
I wouldn't put it past them. I would not put it past them, but I think... I don't know. I just can't... I don't know why he would ever trust her. Don't know why he's trusting her now in what she says, and I don't know why he would trust her to, making some sort of secret deal either.
Yeah. Like, Tyrion worked out that Cersei was pregnant, and Tyrion seems to think, Cersei is going to be to this deal because she has a kid and a new baby coming, and Cersei's weakness is her children. But she was doing some dodgy shit when Joffrey, Tommen, and Marcella were born. So I don't get this. And Sansa is totally justified in her mic drop line that happens later on in the episode. Another big thing that happens in this episode is Sansa, being the leader that she is, the Lady of Winterfell, points out that there is a Dothraki, Unsullied, two-dragon army in Winterfell, and as we all know, last season she spent a lot of time trying to get food to feed the North in case of winter and a big war. Now she has to feed 1,000 more people. Sansa brings this up, and Dany shoots her down. Do you think Sansa had every right to bring the fact that they might not have enough food?
Absolutely. If they can't eat, they're all going to starve and then freeze to death.
Because a lot of people were like, why is Sansa talking about food? There's like a bigger threat coming. Like the Night King's coming. Why is she being a bitch?
This is just practical, people. It's just practicality. Dragons eat a lot.
And they do, because later on we find out they eat 11 sheep and 9 goats, and we're going, wow, that's a lot of families, and apparently that's not enough for the dragons, but we'll talk about that later. But Sansa has been in a state or in a city where people were starving. In season 2, I think, is when Joffrey was still alive, they were walking through the city and the royal procession got attacked, and Sansa asked, why are they attacking us? Or Joffrey, I can't remember who. And Tyrion, I think, replies, they're starving. That's why they're attacking. Sansa knows what happens when the masses starve. They turn. So I think she has every reason to bring up that, where is this food coming from? Yes, it was a boss-ass line from Dany, her reply, whatever they want, but let's be real. They need food. So we go from the Great Hall at Winterfell, where everyone's having their talk, and then we go to one of the big reunions that a lot of people were waiting for, which is, of course, former husband and wife, annulled husband and wife, Tyrion and Sansa. What did you think about this scene? I thought it was boring.
No, every scene with, Tyrion, he makes it interesting. I was half expecting her to turn around and say, oh, hello, ex-husband, because they've got that, past together.
Yeah.
I think that he was still, in some ways, you know, thinking of her as the damsel in distress type, because he starts to say, if you're scared of my sister, you know, you're not the only one. I'm more terrified of her than anyone.
Yeah.
And she cuts him off pretty much.
Yeah.
And she just continues the conversation. It's like, she's like, you know, I'm over that.
Yeah.
Like, don't stop treating me like you know, he's just some little girl.
I'm not a prisoner anymore. I'm in my damn house.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, he approached her like she was a damsel in distress. And, well, he does acknowledge a lady of Winterfell, and, you know, that's a nice title, has a nice ring to it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it's still looking at her as if, yeah, she was a kid, but she's got her own strength now.
Yeah.
So, do you think, because, you know, I reckon Tyrion's still a little power hungry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he loves playing the game. Do you think there's a chance that Tyrion wants to rekindle his marriage with Lady Stark?
I think it makes him a little sad that he gets rejected by these, like, beautiful women in power. I think that certainly crosses his mind.
Yeah.
But he's always playing the game. But I think he's fallen off a bit. I think he's underestimating her, overestimating
Danny.
Yeah, Danny and Cersei.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with him. And he does reference the last time that they saw each other, which was at Joffrey's wedding.
Yeah.
And he says, it was a miserable affair. And she goes, it had its moments. And as an audience, definitely we cheered when Joffrey choked. But then, you know, Sansa ran away and he got caught sort of holding the bag, as it was.
Yeah.
So that was their last interaction.
Do you think there was a little animosity in that scene?
You left me.
Yeah.
You were supposed to be my wife and you took off without telling me, and I almost got, like, killed because of it.
Yeah. And I feel like he pretty much asked, like, did you
Yeah.
Joffrey? And she doesn't say no.
Say no.
She says we both survived.
Mm-hmm.
I love it that she's implying, yeah, I totally did. So let your queen know that. No, I expected a little bit more from that scene, but yeah, Tyrion. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Tyrion. I haven't known what's going on with Tyrion for a couple of seasons now.
He says of Cersei, you know, she's got something to fight for now. And Sansa's response was, "You used to be the smartest person I knew."
Yeah, and I think that's justified in her saying that because who would trust Cersei Lannister? Oh my
yeah,
God.
I was sitting there going, "What are you thinking, dude? Like, have you met your sister? She would watch everything burn just to be the last one there."
Yeah. After that little reunion between the former husband and wife, Tyrion looks down and sees Bran, who it's giving Tyrion a sus look, I thought.
Bran sat there the whole episode in the freaking cold, just creepily staring at everybody. Like, literally.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of the workers and stuff was like, "My lord, do you want to go inside?" And he was like, "No, I'm right here chilling, just staring at people." Like, being the three-eyed raven.
He stays there all night for one moment, which we'll talk about towards the end. Then after that, I think is one of the biggest reunions that everyone has been counting down for since, episode 2, season 1 of Jon and Arya. Was it to your expectations?
I think it was different than I thought it would be. I thought they would just see each other and just, oh my God, run into each other's arms and everything, and it wasn't quite that. They had to suss each other out a bit. And I think it just goes to show, how far they've both come. And what really struck me was that, well, they're pretty much strangers, It's been years since they've seen each other, and so much has happened. Like, literally, John died and came back to life. How do you really... Yeah, how do you explain that really in a sentence?
Yeah.
So they sort of were sussing each other out, but at the end of the day, I think they were really just happy to hug it out and happy to see each other.
And they haven't seen each other in a long time, and they tried to reconnect. John, let's compare. So, have you used needle? And Arya's like, yeah, twice. And in that little exchange, you can see that they are miles apart from the last time that they saw each other. And Maisie Williams did great acting in that scene, because you can see not the disappointment, the sadness that she realised that her and John weren't the same.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until a little bit later that John realised that too. And another thing, we're talking about Sansa a lot in this episode, only because she is mentioned a lot in this episode. She's mentioned again here in this scene, which I think is a pretty significant exchange. John, again, tries to recapture the bond that Arya and John used to have, and obviously they used to tease Sansa a lot. And John says, I can't remember now.
She thinks she's smarter than everyone else.
Yeah. And, and John, on the look of Kit Harington's face, was conveying, this is the joke we used to say, and you're going to say what Arya says back in the day, like, yeah, she is. No, she's not, blah, blah, blah. But instead, Arya backs her sister, and this takes John back by surprise. And do you think there's any significance in what Arya said to John?
Well, I think that's definitely a doubling down of family has to stick together.
Yeah.
And the fact that she acknowledges that Sansa might be the smartest person she knows, which was her reply, I mean, that speaks volumes of how far the two of those them have come as sisters. And just pretty much reiterating, like, yeah, we were little girls when you left, but we're not anymore.
Yeah.
But, yeah, definitely doubling down on family has to stick together.
Yeah. So strange that is a theme in this episode. It's about just remember who your family is, regardless if any big secret is revealed to you at the end of the episode. And it was definitely, I felt for me, it was Arya saying to John, don't forget your Team Stark too. Yeah. After that, I believe we have Cersei and the Golden Company. The scene opens on, I think, Cersei overlooking Euron Greyjoy's fleet that is returning with the Golden Company. Qyburn, the Hand of the Queen, comes and tells Cersei that the wall has fallen. Qyburn actually looks quite worried that the wall has fallen. And Cersei couldn't care less because her ships, her Golden Company, and her elephants are arriving in King's Landing.
No.
What?
No elephants.
No elephants. And boy, did Lena Headey do a good look of disappointment when leader of the Golden Company, Harry Strickland, said, no, we're travelling thousands upon thousands of miles. We couldn't accommodate for.
We couldn't put elephants on the ship.
On the boat, okay? So we find out that.
Look, she's up against dragons, all right. She needs something big.
She needs all the help she can get. So we find out she has about 20,000 Golden Company soldiers, 2,000 horses, and no elephants.
Plus, she'll have the Lannister army.
Which we don't know how many.
Where are they?
Yeah, that's a good question. Jamie had them last, I think, in King's Land. No, at Highgarden? Can't remember.
Could be. So not sure where they are, but she's got them.
And that's not at full force because half of that army got taken out by Dany during the train heist. It's not the train heist, but it's, I believe the book readers called it the Field of Fire, point 2. So, yeah, so half of the Lannister army's gone. So I'm thinking Cersei's got less than 50,000 soldiers on her side against Dany's 100,000 against however many the Night King has. Yeah, Cersei is definitely
but you know what?
well.
I think she's quite happy and she's quite content to just stay there because all she's got to do is wait for the Night King and Jon and his armies to clash and wipe each other out, and she's sitting pretty over in King's Landing.
She's
waiting.
She's got a lot of faith in Daenerys Targaryen and her dragons.
Mm-hmm.
If she's like, I'm not going to worry about it because obviously they're going to win, or she thinks they're going to kill each other, and she can just be the queen.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I don't know how Cersei's going to do it. I'm looking forward to seeing what the big twist of the season is, and it's definitely going to be Cersei, but not with elephants.
She's always got something up her sleeve. You can just you just bet on that.
Yeah. So one important thing that happens besides the elephants is Euron, is asking to be paid. And Cersei says, after the war, and Euron says, well, that could be years. And then Cersei says another mic drop line, if you want a queen, you have to earn her.
Mm-hmm.
But Cersei changes her mind because Euron, when he wants something, he goes for it. He delivered everything she had asked of him, from the ships, the fleet.
Yep.
They destroyed, or they got the gold back thanks to him destroying Dany's fleet last season when they thought they went to Casterly Rock. So, Euron's doing his job. He's asking for his itch to be scratched. Cersei says no, but then Cersei stops and thinks about it. And what did you think of Cersei giving in to Euron? I mean, he's a charismatic bastard. He's charming
I'll give him that, I guess. No, I was kind of confused as to why she would give in seemingly so easily. If she wanted, we know that she's ruthless. She could have just used him as much as she wanted, as long as he was going to stick around, and then get rid of him once she was done with him.
Yeah.
But I guess, she must have been worried that he's going to take his ships and piss off.
Because he definitely implied, I think Cersei accepting Euron into her chambers was a moment of desperation because she has no more allies.
Mm-hmm.
For all we know, what happened last year is half of the Lannister army and their allies were wiped out. So, yeah, Cersei's got no one. So, yeah, Cersei gave herself up. It was such a low moment for the character.
Mm.
You rarely see Cersei Lannister honest, like a pure emotion. She's always putting up a front.
Mm-hmm.
But after they have the sex scene, thankfully that was spared from seeing. But it was really to see Cersei so honest after her and Euron hook up, that sadness, the when she's drinking her wine, like she had to whore herself to get what she wants. Use that weapon between her legs, and she was broken in that moment.
Yeah.
It was a very honest moment. Good job.
And then when he bends over and rubs her belly and says, I'm going to put a prince in you. And I was just like, ugh, yuck.
So do you think she's still pregnant with Jaime's baby?
I don't know. Like, I remember when she told Jamie she was pregnant, and I just remember thinking, you know, is she pregnant? Is she just saying that to you know, keep him around because he was doubting her at that time? I don't know.
Yeah. So Cersei is a mess at this moment. She's not as powerful as that amazing costume makes Lena Headey look.
Oh, the costuming is in this show just is so beautiful. Just so details and just the work that's gone into it.
Like the wardrobe and makeup of this season has just stepped up. You can see that HBO has just thrown money at the production of Game of Thrones this year. Okay, so Euron and Cersei have their talk, and before that, Euron had a short scene with Yara on his ship, the Silence. It was no more than 3 minutes, but I don't know what it is. I enjoyed that scene, maybe because the actor that plays Euron is so goddamn charismatic. And Emma Whelan, I think that's name, is the actress that plays Yara, is just as charismatic, even though it was a short scene. It was great. And what I loved about it is that Euron's not going to kill her because she's family. and I feel like this is a theme that's running through this episode. It's like, your family, you know, there's always exceptions to be made. Yeah. It was a great scene. And, of course, later on, Theon fulfills his promise that, fulfilled what he was going to do, what he told Jon last year, and go and get Yara. What do you think of that scene?
Oh, I cracked up. Because he burst in the door, all dramatic, you know, to the rescue, unties her, and then she proceeds to headbutt him. And I just laughed my ass off.
As the Ironborn would do. And he respected that. She picked him up afterwards.
Fair enough. I mean, he left her to get kidnapped.
To be fair, she left him as well. Yeah. So, you know.
Well, they're even now.
Yeah, they're even now. After Yara and Theon have a scene after Yara is rescued, Yara's heading off to the Iron Islands because Euron's not there. They're going to just retape back. And Theon doesn't want to go to the Iron Islands. I think he wants to go and die for the Stark, so he's heading back to Winterfell. And can I just say, Alfie Allen's curls in this scene rival Jamie Fraser's in Outlander. Looking mighty fine.
I did notice that too.
I was like, damn, what?
It's that salty air, you know, going through his curls.
Yeah, they were very, very lush. So Theon, I'm glad that Theon is going to be part of the Battle of Winterfell, which is episode 3, I believe, and is the longest episode of the series. I think it's 82 minutes long.
Okay.
Oh, could be wrong. 87 minutes long. It's a long episode. But yeah, I'm glad that Theon is going back to Winterfell, and it's going to be interesting when he goes back. He's made his peace sort of with Jon and sort of with Sansa, but it's going to be interesting to see his reunion with Bran, who he kicked out in season 2. And Arya's reaction, because I don't think Arya is going to be as forgiving to Theon's actions.
Yeah, she's not a forgiving type, that one.
Yeah, no. Yes, and while we're in the King's Landing area, because that's pretty much what was happening, what we've talked about had been happening in King's Landing, Bronn was made a interesting offer. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes, so he was seeing some lovely ladies at the time, so it was a bit of an imposition for him, I think. But the offer basically was from Cersei, I'll pay you to go and kill my brothers.
Yeah.
And it was both. It was Jaime and Tyrion.
With the crossbow that Tyrion killed Tywin with. Poetic justice. Do you think he'll do it?
He's always said that, you know, the money is what drives him.
Yeah.
That he doesn't have friends, like, you're there to pay me. But at the end of the day, I think, he really did like Tyrion and Jamie, and I believe it enough to not try and kill them.
Yeah, it's really going to test Bron's character if he's a man of gold, which he has been throughout this entire series, or if he's going to be a man of loyalty. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see. And also during that scene, for those of you who don't know or didn't pick up, but Moya didn't, I had to point it out, when Bronn is getting ready with the girls are talking about a group of Lannister men. Yes, they are talking about the Lannister men, which Ed Sheeran was a part of last year. He is Eddie, who no longer has eyelids. Okay, I think we're heading back to Winterfell. Tyrion, Davos, and Varys are watching one of the Northern Lords come into Winterfell, Alice Karstark, who was one of the two houses that was pardoned last year or the year before. So Alice Karstark has just arrived into Winterfell, and for those of you out there, I think there is a upcoming plot that involves Alice Karstark because she has red hair, and there might be a fake out in one of the later battles. So I'm just going to say that, but we're not going to concentrate on that. We'll talk about that, later on. Davos, Tyrion, and Varys are having a conversation. They're playing matchmakers. So how does the scene start?
Well, they've always been the people behind the power.
Kingmakers.
Yes, Kingmakers, the three of them. And they are discussing, obviously, Jon and Dany, and implying that the two of them should get married just to solidify the alliance between the North and between Queen Daenerys.
Davos says, the North doesn't trust. That you have to earn their respect, and it might be a bit easier after the war is said and done, that a just woman and an honourable man should get together and bring peace to the kingdom through a marriage proposal.
And they're looking down on Jon and Dany, just having a nice little chat. Leaning in close.
Talking and whispering. But I would just like to point out, if a writer was making specific points of who they were talking about, they would have said Jon and Dany. Just saying. So they're playing matchmaker, and, an alliance and a marriage is reasonable, sensible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually quite shocking that this has just come up now. And I reckon Davos, as soon as they reached Dragonstone last year, should have been like, hey, he's good looking, she's good looking. So it's actually quite strange that it took this while for this idea to pop up, a marriage between a just woman and an honourable man to unite
Jon and Dany.
The North and the South. Okay, so we go from the three wise men looking over at the young, handsome couple. Oh, although I must say Davos and Tyrion are all for this pairing, but Varys is all nothing lasts, so Varys isn't quite sure.
Cynical one, that one.
Yeah, he always has been. So we go from the three wise men talk to Dany and Jon checking out the defense of Winterfell for the upcoming battle against the Army of the Dead. And Dany's not too happy with the disrespect that Sansa is thrown her way, and pretty much straight up tells Jon that your sister doesn't have to like me, but she has to respect me because I'm a queen, and if she doesn't respect me, ellipses.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. I think that was really telling how she said that too, that it was a given that I'm her queen and that she has to respect me. And I'm sitting there going pretty much the whole episode saying, no, Dany, you have to earn the respect of all these people. You have to get them behind you. you have to win hearts and minds the way you did in the other cities that you've come across and conquered. But I think she's just taking it for granted, you know?
I don't know if we said it earlier on in this recap, is that Dany came in with the attitude of a conqueror, and the North picked up on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're right, Dany came in with these expectations, and there's people out there who, agree that, Sansa should be shown some respect because she's coming in with 2 dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Though she has been told from Davos, from Tyrion and Jon that you've got to earn the respect and you're not earning it.
Mm.
And
especially from the Northerners, because they, they're a tough lot. They don't trust easily.
Yeah. It was pretty shocking that Dany had the gall to say that to Jon.
It kind of reminded me of he's introducing his new girlfriend to the family, and the women of the family are not quite taken to her just yet.
Yeah. But we don't threaten them. Do you think she was threatening death? Like, what was it? What was the end of that song? What was that ellipses? What was that thought?
Well, I think Dany's used to getting her way.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think, I'm going to kill her, but she would find a way to get her way.
Yeah.
And that's what she's done in the past, when she's come up with people against her and everything. She's pretty much used a lot of brute force because she's got the dragons.
Yeah.
And because she's got armies behind her, But I think this is definitely a situation where she has to be a bit careful and a bit more strategic, a bit more political. We all know that she believes that she, this is her rightful kingdom and everything.
And this is her destiny to be queen.
This is her destiny.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's automatically given to you.
Yeah.
That respect is not automatically given.
And this is the first time she's dealing with this.
Plus, everyone else remembers her father, who was the previous king, who was the Mad King.
Yeah.
So that's even more against her.
The North has lost 2 Stark lords to a Targaryen.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're thinking, well, they've lost Jon. Dany's going to be interesting to see her story unfold this year. She's definitely in a new position that she's never been in, a position where she doesn't hold all the cards. So Dany and Jon are interrupted by the Dothraki, who tell Dany that the dragons are not eating, and they haven't eaten much. They've only eaten 11 goats and 9 sheep, and earlier on in the episode.
Well, it's winter time, Everybody's a bit, running out of food. It's not that green.
Yeah.
Around the place.
The dragons do need to eat. They're the nuclear weapons that are going to help against the army of the dead. But Sansa Stark did bring up a food shortage is going to happen. Mm-hmm. Dany and Jon investigate why the dragons haven't eaten, and they find Drogon and I forgot his name. Rhaegar,
I think. Viserion was the
Night King one. Yeah.
Died.
Find them amongst the bones of their kill. Dany knows that the dragons are not liking the North, and they go on a magic dragon ride.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Quite spectacular, but I was like, do we really need this scene?
Yeah.
I mean, and then they go off and they find the bloomin' cave somewhere. And I was like, oh no, you are not going to go in that cave. The cave is meant for, you and your old girlfriend.
Yeah.
I was hoping they would not go there.
Yeah. A lot of people thought they had sex after the dragon ride. Did you think they did?
Probably. It's cold out here.
It's cold. I didn't think they had. I don't think they had sex. I think Jon was a bit put off with Drogon.
Yeah, he was staring quite intently there.
Yeah, at him. He did not like his Jon Snow kissing his mum. We all know what this dragon riding scene was about. It was all about Jon now knows how to ride a dragon. And as we know, once a dragon has its rider, they kind of bonded. Yeah. So I think this scene was added not only to show that Jon has Targaryen blood, but it also gives Jon a dragon to ride as well. And I think that having Jon ride a dragon is going to be a big mistake for Dany, because now she only controls one dragon, not two.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm just saying.
You never know. This is Game of Thrones.
Dany's given up one of her weapons. Anyway, after the magic dragon ride.
Gendry, the Hound, and Arya.
Oh, yes. This is, I will admit, I was excited for one of these reunions. The Hound and Arya, because their character arc in season 2 to 3, I think, was great. I loved their absolute great dynamic. Yeah, I was looking forward to the Hound and Arya's reunion, but I felt it a little bit lackluster, but also it was definitely them.
Yeah. It was so them, and she walks in and the Hound is being a bit of an asshole. Like, he can't help it, That's just who he is.
Yeah.
And she says, look, just give him a break, that's my friend. And I was very happy to see her and Gendry reunite, and her and the Hound, because I loved their I hate you friendship.
Yeah.
I was happy with that scene.
The Hound, the character that he became last season and the season before, definitely that...
I was so happy when he came back.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah!
But that change of his whole personality was definitely thanks to Arya and to a lower extent Sansa too, because he protected her back in King's Landing. I loved how in the earlier seasons, he said that Arya's had too much of a kind heart, and this one he's like, you survived. You survived because you're a bitch. You don't have a cold hard heart anymore, a kind heart anymore. And of course, as you said before, the other big reunion was of course Arya and Gendry. A Baratheon son to a Stark daughter, written in the stars. We all know where this is gonna go. It's going to be a sweet kiss, then a fiery death for Gendry. This scene was cute.
I thought it was cute. I wrote Gendry and Arya forever, awkward flirting.
It was very awkward.
It was like, you look good. And you just know in his head he's like, oh, Gendry, you're so stupid. Why didn't you say something better?
It was good to see these two characters reconnect, and it was another instant where the Arya Stark came out over the Arya Stark who was a faceless man. So.
Yeah, you could see that old spark in her come back.
Yeah, because she definitely had a crush on him in the earlier season. Yeah, I'm totally not looking forward to whatever happens between those two, because yes, Maisie Williams is 19 going on 20, but she's always going to be 12-year-old Maisie Williams to me. So we had that heartfelt reunion. Everyone's getting coupled up. While they were doing their flirting thing, Arya has asked Gendry to make a weapon for her.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't that girl have enough weapons? She's got needle and she's got a Valyrian steel knife.
Oh, well, I thought...
She needed another sword.
The drawing that she gave, it has a screw. So I thought she was putting the dagger onto a staff.
Oh, yeah, maybe, yeah.
Because I don't know if you've seen the trailers that came out. Mm-hmm. She's fighting with a staff.
Okay.
And I think she's got the dagger on the end, which would make sense for her to... Because I didn't understand how Arya became a great swordsman when she fought Brianna in the training yards last season. It's like she spent 2 years in the House of Black and White learning how to fight with a staff. So I was kind of baffled that she knew how to fight with a sword. So I'm glad that the writers have gone to the staff. And that I can believe. Yeah, not.
Well, being as small as she is, I think she needs a bit of, distance maybe.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if she gets into shit, twist it off if need be. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to Maisie Williams' fight scenes, and I believe she was one of the last people, she was the last person to finish filming.
Okay.
So she's got a lot of big action scenes coming up. Good on her. After awkward reunions and great reunions between the Hound, Ari and Gendry, we have an intense conversation in a low-lit room between Sansa Stark and Jon Snow, brother and sister, talking about loyalty.
Yep.
Bending the knee.
Family. Yep.
Stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm a Joneses shipper, and I totally believe that it's Queen Sansa with her consort, Jon Snow. So I thought there was a lot of tension in the room.
Well, I'm definitely not a Joneses shipper, so I'm here rolling my eyes. Family tension, brother-sister tension. But I did think that she was jealous of Jon and his connection to Dany.
Yeah.
But I think that's about, the power struggles. I think that she's always wanted him to take her seriously, listen to me, I know what I'm talking about, stop just going off with your heart and everything.
Yeah, because as she said before, that's what got Rob killed.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just listen to my advice that I'm giving you. And I saw at the beginning of that conversation that's where it was going, because Sansa last year was like, you've got to listen to me and you've got to realise that you have to be loyal. You have to have the loyalty of these people. Your position as king is very, very important. We can't lose the North.
And she's one person that can lecture him.
Yeah.
And just tell him straight, what's what. And he says to her, don't you trust me at all?
Yeah.
And I think that maybe harks back to the Battle of the Bastards, when she kept
The Vale.
Yeah, that she had been in contact with the Knights of the Vale, and they came in at the last minute and rescued him. So I really think that, that was sort of a demonstration to him that, she still doesn't trust me. She doesn't trust me. She kept that from me.
Yeah.
And I think they just need to get on the same page.
Yeah.
They need to listen to each other, understand each other, and come to some sort of middle ground.
Yeah.
Because choosing one way or the other, I don't feel like is going to work.
It's not going to benefit the North whatsoever. And they're both very passionate about the North. That is their middle ground.
Yeah.
They've just got to decide on how they're going to rule that. Yeah. No, that's it's annoying that it's the same old argument between Jon and Sansa. They need to find something familiar.
Yeah.
To get over this hurdle. So Jon and Sansa have a conversation about loyalty, trust, and Sansa comes out and asks Jon, "Did you bend the knee for the North or for Dany?" And ellipses. It's twice this episode has done that to us. Jon doesn't answer. What do you think? For love or for the North?
I think he's done it for the North. He's always done things for the greater good, and that's the thing I love about him. He's a very morally stable person. So he's seen the Night King. He's seen the bigger picture. He gets it, but he has to learn to play the game too.
Definitely.
And I think in terms of Dany, she's part of the political side, but I think he's also likes her.
Yeah.
Just the guy who likes a girl
Yep.
who has 2 dragons.
Yep.
And is going to rule everyone.
Right. Okay, after the tense scene between John and Sansa, I believe Sam gets a visitor in the Winterfell library. Dany's looking great here. She's all smiles and happy with Ser Jorah Mormont at her side. Jorah and Dany come up to Sam, who's in the library, because Jorah wants to introduce Dany to Sam because Sam saved his life. What do you feel about this scene? This was an awkward scene, well-acted scene.
It was all smiles and laughs, you know. Oh, thank you for saving my friend here. You know, you'll get rewarded, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, all right, just pardon me. I stole some books and a sword from my father, dun, 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 who is, you know,
Randall Tarly.
Randall Tarly.
And you can just see that beautiful smile of Emilia Clarke.
Just drops. It just goes. It's gone. And the whole scene just changes in a second.
Yeah. Dany no longer has emotions. And as we were discussing before, there's no longer any, emotions, no sympathy given to Sam. Dany is just telling Sam what happened, cold, hard facts.
I think because it was a queenly decision.
Yeah.
Like, it was a decision, she didn't seem like she wanted to do it. But actually, when at the time, she wasn't too fussed.
No.
But it's like,
Tyrion was screaming at her.
That's right. Yeah,
Don't do it.
And I think now she sees the consequence of that, like having to look someone in the eye and just like say to him, yeah, I killed your dad. And he was very cut up. He was very sad. It was surprising that he was so emotional because he and his father didn't get along.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's a good guy. That's his dad.
Yeah.
So he was sad. And he says, I guess I can go home now. My brother's there, going to be in charge. And then she drops the second bomb. I kind of killed him too. And I'm just going, oh my God, like this guy. It's like even more tears now. And she delivers it in such a cold manner. I think she doesn't want to get emotional about it. You can see that she feels bad that, you know, she killed his dad and brother, but she doesn't I would think at least say sorry, like my bad, like it was part of war.
Yeah.
You know, so like pat him on the shoulder or something.
Yeah.
But she just sort of said, yeah, that's what happened. And he was like, well, fuck.
Yeah. This act that Dany did last year of killing the Tarlys is going to bite her badly in the butt. Because what would we call it, the murder of the Tarlys? Was it a murder or the killing? Was it a murder?
Well, it's war.
Yeah.
And they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And they chose to get burnt rather than bend the knee.
Yeah.
So, you know, it wasn't like so like vicious murder, but it wasn't nice.
Yeah. If you were going to...
she could have made other choices.
Yeah. If she was going to pass an execution in Westeros, doing it by dragons is not the best way to do it.
Yeah.
She should have,
overkill.
Yeah. Taking the heads, maybe a little, people would have been a bit more understanding. But since she done it with dragons, and she totally should have spared the brother, chucked him in a cell.
And she killed a lot of them, didn't she?
No, she just...
Like there was a group of them?
Oh, they all bent the knee after the death of
yeah, that's
the
right.
Tarlys. Yeah. But yeah, this action of Dany's from last year, it's definitely going to hit her back, because that was...
Well, he was pissed.
Yeah, he was so pissed. Sam was so angry that he had to leave the room, excused himself, and he exits the library and he runs into Bran, and Bran says to him, first Sam says to him, why have you been here all day? Aren't you cold? And Bran says, I'm waiting for a friend. Who's the friend? We'll find out soon. But Bran then says to Sam, now's the perfect time to tell Jon that he is Aegon Targaryen. I don't know why the writers have decided for Sam to tell Jon and not Bran.
Mm-hmm.
I get that Sam is his trusted friend and someone he will believe, you know.
Yeah.
But still, I felt like it was a family thing.
Mm-hmm.
That should have been told. Anyway, Sam, feeling very emotional after hearing the death of his father and brother, goes into the Winterfell crypts where Jon is, paying respect to Ned Stark's statue. And, Sam and Jon. Well, Sam drops a bomb on Jon, which is he's Aegon Targaryen.
Yep, rightful king of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yep.
And like I say, one of the things that I love about Jon is he's just a genuine guy. Like, I just love him. Anyway, his first reaction to this news was, shock, denial. He said, no, I'm not the king.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to be the king of 70. But his first reaction was to be angry that his father, Ned, well, now he knows it's his uncle, lied to him his whole life.
Yeah.
First reaction.
Yeah.
Dad lied to me?
Yeah. But it was more to Sam, how dare you say that my father, Ned Stark, lied to me?
Yeah.
Because Ned is the most honourable man in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
What a beautiful guy, Jon Snow.
And to him, that was his dad. That's who raised him.
Yeah.
But, yeah, to find out, no, that's your uncle. The person you thought was your auntie, she's your mum.
Yeah.
And you're also a Targaryen. Now, Rhaegon, that was his father, yeah?
Rhaegar. No,
Rhaegar. That's, yeah.
Yeah.
He was the Mad King's brother, is that right?
Son. Eldest son.
Son, okay. So that makes him Dany's nephew? Nephew, okay.
Yeah. And as we all know, that shock is... it hasn't quite hit Jon Snow that he has been making out with his aunt, which is
a lot to process.
In the moment there. I'm sure that's in the next episode he's going to realise that he's been knocking boots with his auntie. So we're coming to the end of the episode and we've got to wrap it up because we've almost been talking for an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the first episode of the new season of Game of Thrones and we were waiting 20 months, so we're allowed to talk an hour and a half. And this is the inaugural podcast of Newbies in the Fandom with me, Rachel, and Moya. We've gone from Jon and Sam in the crypts. Jon is dealing with this shocking realisation that he is the heir to the Seven Kingdoms. And, and then we go to the last half where we find out that Tormund and Sir Beric Dondarrion didn't die when the wall got blasted last season.
Yes, that's right, yes.
So we have a little bit of a funny scene where Beric and Tormund are going through the last half, checking out the castle that's obviously being visited by some White Walkers. They hear a noise, everyone's ready to charge, and there's a cry of "ah!" And then we see that Ed and the Night's Watch on the other side, and Ed calls out, his eyes are blue, let's attack, and then Tormund answers, my eyes have always been blue. And it's a sweet moment, out of all the reunions in the show, that's the one they had, I was like, 3 seasons ago they were shooting arrows at each other, now they're like, bro. So, yes, Tormund, Beric Dondarrion, Darren and Ed with the Night's Watch check out last half and they find a...
shocking scene.
Yes. In their quest to dominate Westeros, the White Walkers find some time to do some art.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, yeah.
Magic spiral,
Mhm.
a symbol that pops up throughout the seasons of Game of Thrones with poor little Ned.
Mhm.
It's bad luck, that name. Nailed to the wall. And Beric Dondarrion says, it's a message. I don't know what that message is, but when little Ned reanimates and screams and Beric stabs him with the sword, the artwork lights up. And I think it looks like a Targaryen's sigil.
Okay, with the many
Yeah.
legs and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, while I was watching that, and the focus was on, was it on Tormund or was the other one?
Beric Dondarrion.
I can never say his bloody name. So we're focused on him, but in the background you can see the eyes open up of the boy nailed to the wall, and I just was like, oh my god, like I started screaming, and then he screamed, and then I screamed even more. It was a thing. First reaction was, what the F? Like, oh my god, okay. A message, but don't know what the message is. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm coming.
Yeah, I'm on my way. Yeah. So we get the message. The group at last half decides, shit, we better book it. They're not very far from Winterfell. We need to tell Jon that the army of the dead is pretty much knocking on their door.
Mm.
That scene fades into the next scene, which is Bran Stark, who obviously doesn't get cold.
He's beyond that worldly things.
In the Winterfell courtyard. Sorry, the scene starts with a lone figure on a horse.
Mm-hmm.
This lone rider. It's not hard to guess who it is. The wonderful Jaime Lannister has arrived at Winterfell. He looks around at Winterfell and takes it in. He's happy to be back. The last time he was there, he pushed a young boy out the window, and guess who greets him?
Mm-hmm. Waiting for it. And you know what? Firstly, I had to laugh because literally, once again, sitting there all day, just waiting around, just, creepily staring at people, waiting for Jaime to come. And it made me think, like, how much of Bran is still there and how much is the Night King. Is the three-eyed raven.
Yeah.
He seems to be above it all, but that when he saw Jon, he smiled. He's waiting for an old friend.
Yeah.
Jaime. Who he obviously, had some unfinished business with. Yeah. So I don't know, how much is he there?
How much is Bran and how much is the Raven?
Yeah.
Or is that Bran saying, I'm waiting for an old friend because it's like, yeah, dude, you pushed me out of the window. Thank God you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm what I am.
Thanks to you. So, So the first episode of Season 8 ends like the first episode of Season 1 with not a shocking twist, but with a confrontation between Jaime and Bran, and we're all looking forward to episode 2, which is coming up very, very soon. We're just going to quickly talk about the previews because we have been talking for over an hour and a half, but you know what? It's the first episode of Season 8 and we've waited over almost 2 years, so we're allowed to talk about it. So the second episode, from the previews, we see that Jaime looks like he's on trial. Daenerys Targaryen is staring down at Jaime Lannister, who's obviously just told the room, by the way, my sister lied. So that puts Tyrion in the shit bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's bad for Tyrion.
Mm-hmm.
And also bad for Jaime because Dany says in the preview, me and my brother Viserys talked about what we would do to the Kingslayer who killed our father.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's not looking good for Jaime in that episode, but thank God House Stark definitely has his back there, I think. What do you reckon?
Hard to say. Jaime's probably pissed off a lot of people, or like the Lannisters in general has probably pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think Dany has the, understanding that her dad was not a very good person in the end. And so I don't know how much she holds that against him.
Yeah.
But it was her dad.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, did he hand himself in? Or do you think Bran was like, Jamie Lannister's there? Somebody?
I think where else was he? He had to go into the Great Hall. He handed himself in. Yeah. There's no way he was going to get any further.
Yeah. Well, he does have balls.
Yeah.
You know,
So, Jamie came in and, I don't know if he's asking for forgiveness. Dany is not going to be forgiving. I think Tyrion's going to have a panic that his brother might die, and plus, he's on Dany's shit list. I think Jamie is going to pledge to House Stark.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Dany's going to like that. Because I think a conversation's going to go, okay, to prove you're sorry or whatever, to make up for whatever, pledge your loyalty to me. And Jamie goes, no, pledging to House Stark.
I'm sticking to those guys.
So, because they're honourable. I think that's what that goes. And then we also see in the preview for episode 2, there's another confrontation between Sansa and Dany. They're still sharing cold looks. So that tension's still growing. Who knows where that's going. Hopefully, with the War of the Army of the Dead coming, those two can go in their separate corners.
Mm-hmm.
And we also see that Winterfell is preparing for the battle. So it looks like it's going to be more politics, more cold stares. I reckon Missandei and Grey Worm are going to have their last sex scene before one of them dies in the next episode. And, yeah.
I don't want them to die.
One of them's going to die.
Nobody needs to die. Don't kill anybody. Come on, Game of Thrones. They've made it this far. They deserve to live.
If you think this story has a happy ending, you're not paying attention. All right, thank you so much, listeners, for tuning in to a Newbies in the Fandom's first podcast on Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 1, Winterfell, with me, Rachel, and
Moya.
Please tune in this time next week, or maybe a little bit earlier, for our recap on Episode 2 of Game of Thrones. And we'll try and get it out as soon as possible. And please, also, if you're listening, leave comments and tell us what you like or what you don't like. But please be kind, good karma when you're at this. And
good vibes only.
Yeah. It's good vibes only. So thanks, and see you next time.